Hello, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we're going to be talking about stop saying it's better than nothing. Because we all have this phrase where we all say, well, it's better than nothing. And we need to stop doing that. But before we jump into that, I do want to remind you that I would love to hear from you and become friends via DM on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, and you're welcome to just take a peek into the show notes. And you can type in at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. It's how to spell it down there. And I would love to hear from you and connect with you. If you'd rather send an email, that information is also in the show notes. But I hope to hear from you soon. I've been so enjoying everyone reaching out, and you're welcome to just say hi, have a prayer request, ask a question, come up with a topic suggestion. I would love to hear it. But again, today we were talking about stop saying it's better than nothing. So it's so easy for us to think that by accepting what is given to us, that we don't need to try harder for anything better or even just different if we have been taught to just be grateful for the bare minimum. And I really wanted to talk about this because I was reading and this topic really spurred in my brain. And I was like, I need to talk about this. I definitely get inspiration from so many places. And I was like, wow, because it's not really something I've thought a lot about. I constantly will say this, like it's better than nothing. And realizing that I have put such a barrier up for myself. And I know that so many other people do that. And we need to stop doing that. We need to stop like regulating ourselves so tightly in this way that we're basically getting in our own way, right? So let's think about, where did we learn this? I believe I learned it in childhood and just from hearing adults say it and other people say it, but why have we spent so much of our life settling for whatever comes to us and just being grateful that we got anything at all? And, I was raised this way. For sure, without a shadow of a doubt. I was raised this way because if something good happened at all, it was that kind of level of like, well, if something good actually did happen, I was grateful for it. I was like, yes, praise the Lord. I'm so happy. Thank you for letting this amazing good thing happen. And, I wasn't blessed with any sort of charmed life, as as I've sprinkled in like small stories and anecdotes of my childhood. There were definitely ups and downs and interesting experiences that were positive and then super negative. But it wasn't like super full of money or even that much room to fail. It was tough, And so this thought and, dare I say, belief system came about with me believing that I needed to just be happy something good happened at all, because it was because of all the bad things that have happened that, when those good things start to like pepper into your life, when you feel like a lot of your life is bad, especially if you live a lot of your life in the negative mindset, then yeah, you're going to constantly be thinking, wow, well, it's better than nothing. It's better than what's been happening. I'm just going to settle for this. And it's so easy to just like make that your mantra, make that your mindset, and believe that is your belief system, right? And I know that I'm not alone in this. And it was just so interesting for me to take a step back and realize, wow, it didn't seem that bad as I'm doing it, as I'm growing up and doing this and realizing, I wasn't necessarily always negative by any means. It was just more of like I went through so much crap, muddled through so much mud and dirt and pain and shame and all of this stuff that when these pockets of positive things came up, it was like I was clinging to them and being like, oh my gosh, at least this happened. Or if I looked like in hindsight and been like, wow, I could have done better on that, or I could have tried harder on that, or this could have turned out better. It was more of like, wow, at least it happened for me. At least I got close to it. At least I got to like experience it just a little tiny bit, right? And I feel like this also like fed into my mindset of believing that I don't need to try hard, because if I just do enough, then I will be granted these special little bonuses in life that it's like, okay, I get these sprigs of positivity and blessings in my life. And it really had nothing connected to God and what he would provide for me and blessing with me. It was totally different from that. It was just like, but it was also kind of connected. It wasn't like I was limiting God, but I guess I kind of was, but not that I can really do that, but you know what I mean? And just being like, well, okay, I'm just grateful for this little thing and that's fine. And, And it's really sad for me to reflect back on and think, wow, like I could have pushed myself so much harder. I could have tried harder. I could have wished for better things. And, I did have big wishes in my life, but they weren't things that I actually thought would come true or that I knew how to work towards. And I just feel like I set myself up with this like limiting belief and just let it rule my life until, well, for a long time. I wouldn't say just now that I'm coming up from under it. I'm realizing it more, but I feel like I did come up from under it like a few years ago of realizing, oh wow, I could do more. I could do more than I'm doing right now. I could go after more than just what is like coming to me or I'm being blessed with. And I feel like this mindset and this belief system, it also wrecked my confidence in thinking I could shoot for the stars and really be something more than what I was born into or had experienced or had accomplished so far, right? So I feel like sometimes we will just happen upon accomplishments. And we're like, wow, I can't believe I got there. Or wow, I'm so grateful that I've got to this point. I'm just going to be happy right here because you don't want to muddle anything up. You don't want to tip the seesaw. You want to walk on eggshells and you want everything to stay the way it is because you're afraid you're going to break something, right? Has anyone else been in that mindset where you just feel like you're going to break something if you do anything like off kilter, if you do anything that just messes up the mood and the groove that you're in with these accomplishments, with these blessings, with these amazing things happening in your life? And that's also something that I am just this year trying to break free from, that I talk about in therapy a lot, is I'm that person that is like waiting for the other shoe to drop so that when positive things are happening in my life and life is going well, there's little hiccups here and there, but like big ones aren't there. I have this anxiety and worry that just waiting, just waiting for the tornado to come barreling into my life as opposed to just enjoying life in this moment, right now, day to day, and then dealing with problems and issues as they come along. I really struggle with that, and it's something that trying to figure out so that I can enjoy my life. And I feel like this belief system, this limiting belief, has also contributed to that because, you're like, well, this is better than nothing, or this is better than it has been, and we should just accept it and realize that we can't be shooting for the stars here. We can't be hoping for more because this is what we've been given and this is what we got. So it definitely wrecked my confidence to shoot for the stars or really think anything better than what was happening could happen. And because I was continuously reminded that I needed to be grateful for this bare minimum in whatever came my way, whether it was from like my dad or other adults in my life or just me telling myself that. And how I talk about not everything in your brain that you think is facts or true or something that you need to accept. But I didn't know that at that time. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I just need to accept this. This is the bare minimum. This is where we are. At least it's not as bad as it was. And, this kind of thought leans heavily on believing that we should be grateful for what we get, even if it's not what we really wanted. Really think about that. Like needing to be grateful for what we get, even if it's not what we really wanted, even if what we really wanted was like a step or two further or something totally different. But you're like, well, but this fills the gap, so I'll just accept it, as opposed to being like, well, maybe I could try harder, or maybe I can do something better. What can we change here? Or can I accept this and still go after that other thing? Work my way up, not just settle, not just give up. But I really want to talk about this because while gratitude, being grateful, gratitude is one of my biggest things that I love to speak on and encourage others to adopt as a daily lifestyle and belief system. Like I do, I used to talk about having daily gratitude every single episode, because it's super important. It really is important. But it isn't something that should keep you from trying harder and doing more. We need to stop settling. That is the main point in this, me talking about this, bringing this up, really wanting to share it with you because we need to stop settling. We need to try harder and maybe do more sometimes. I'm not saying all the time. You don't have to be an overachiever. I used to be one of those too. But in certain ways where I was still like limiting myself despite being an overachiever, which is kind of silly. But yeah, we need to stop settling, right? I personally, maybe someone else out there will resonate with this. I have settled so darn much in my life. And it's because I mistook the need to be grateful for everything as the final opportunity and option, right? It kind of felt like I was given few choices to choose from, and whatever happened to fall my way was my destiny. And sometimes things do come to us this way, as a form of destiny or blessing from God. Yes, amazing. But other times it's just happenstance or the beginning of a blessing. The beginning of a blessing, And the part I always missed was it potentially only being the beginning instead of the end all be all, instead of like, this is it. And that's the thing that's tough for me. We're really wrapping my head around this because, when I would think about like, well, it's better than nothing. At least I'm grateful that this is happening and this is where I am. And at least I'm not back there or this other place or whatever. But also, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to be grateful for getting this far. And I'm going to and it's like manifesting the future. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be grateful for getting this far, but I'm also going to be grateful that I will get to that point at some time. And I'm going to continue to work for it and figure out a plan to get there. And for now, I'm really going to enjoy this experience, this step in the journey, this current season of life. And that's the thing that I'm like wrapping my mind around right now. It's like, okay, well, you can still be deeply into gratitude and being grateful. Absolutely. I don't want to cut that out, but I also want to realize, okay, but that doesn't need to limit you. Like, you don't just need to be limited by the fact that you don't feel like you can do more or achieve more because you've self-imposed these limitations in your life because you feel like you just need to be grateful for this and not push your luck. Not ask for more, not be greedy, right? Be grateful, not greedy. Oh, it's so tough. It's such a tough thing to think about, especially if you spent so much time living in this belief system. To just be grateful for the bare minimum, and then, especially when you take a step back and widen your perspective and open your eyes and see that there are so many people out there that are pushing themselves more and more and more each and every day, and you're like, wow, you're trying really hard. Aren't you afraid you're going to, break the spell or mess things up? It's going to go the wrong way. The shoe's going to drop at some point. Like, those are the things I was thinking, which I know is not healthy. Totally know that. But yeah. But really, when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, okay, yeah, why did I always think that it was just like, that was the one blessing that God was giving me? That was the one form of my, my purpose, my destiny that was coming for me. And why do I just think that was it and not like the beginning of it? Or just a piece of it, a part of it, a puzzle piece of the whole thing, right? Because life is ongoing and we're continually learning and growing and becoming our best selves. And so, it like awakened something in me and being like, okay, wow, this could just be the beginning. And I could look at so many things in my life like this. So exciting. I think it's exciting. And I wanted to have this quick conversation with you because I just thought it'd be helpful for someone else. It's definitely helping me. So thank you for listening to help me. But also I hope it's helping you, or you'll be able to know someone else that's struggling with this, struggling with limiting themselves and calling it gratitude, and which part of it is, but you're letting yourself be all consumed by it and not and creating barriers in your life. And I hope it helps them, right? So I'm just here to remind you that you need to not settle for what is handed to you, not settle for what someone else says is the end in finale, right? Because there's people in our lives that will be like, okay, well, this is as good as you're going to get, or this is as far as you're going to go, or this is as much money as you're going to make, or this is as much schooling as you need to do, or this is as many kids that you can have or should have, or whatever. Or this is like, where you're allowed to live, friends you're allowed to have, whatever. Or this is as many years as you're allowed to be single before you have to just like settle for whomever's available. So many things. But yeah, so we need to not settle when someone says this is the end and finale for us, not settle for what's handed to us, and not settle for a level in life or a season in life when we believe we can go further and higher. And sometimes we need to awaken those feelings and notions in our minds and our hearts to tell us, yes, you can go further and higher. You can. It's okay. It's totally fine. You are more than you know. We shouldn't let these things dictate what we can and cannot do. Absolutely. And if it turns out that we did come to an end, right? We try to go forward and it's like, oh no, there is nowhere else to go after this. Okay. Well, we still at least tried our best and grew from that experience of doing more than and when possible, right? So I just wanted to give you this big encouragement that will hopefully help you push past any blocks or settling points in your life. Because we all need sometimes that friendly push as a reminder that we are more than we remember and realize sometimes. We are more than we remember and realize. Because a lot of times we forget who we are, what we're all about, what we're capable of, and a lot of times we don't even realize it. And we have to have other people come into our life and shake us up and push us forward and point out how awesome and amazing we are. And we didn't even know it. So I hope this has really helped you and been beneficial for you. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast, again with me, Sabrina. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. You are absolutely amazing. Again, I'd love to hear from you on Instagram at Sabrina Joy. Wow, at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. Can't even say my own name. Or if you want to send me an email, you can send it to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. All of that information is in the show notes below. I hope you take a little peek. And again, thank you so much for joining me on the show. You give me such a big privilege to listen to it, and I'm so blessed. So have a good one, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.